Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I am Mr. Century, and today in continuation with the previous video, I have come up with 30 sociology MCQ practice questions with solutions for you, for those who aspire for NET, SET and other competitive exams. So friends, let's start with today's first question. Durkheim's most important methodological contribution is his. The options are study of religion, functional analysis, study of normative behavior, study of labor. The answer is B, that is functional analysis. Functional analysis is a sociological theory by Durkheim where he stipulated that society is a complex system of interrelated and interdependent parts that work together to maintain stability, and that society is held together by shared values, language, and symbol. He believed that to study society, a sociologist must look beyond individuals to social facts such as law, moral values, religious belief, customs, fashions, and rituals, which all serves to govern social life. Next question. Who among the following conceive sociology as a comprehensive science of social action? Options are Talcott Parson, B. Karl Marx, C. Martindale, and D. Max Weber. The answer here is D. Max Weber. When Max Weber conceived sociology as a comprehensive science of social action, he primarily focused on the subjective meaning that human actors attach to their action in their mutual orientation, which is specific socio-historical context. Who had made distinction between two types of conflict, namely realistic and non-realistic? Options are A. G. Simmel, B. Levi Strauss, C. Karl Marx, and D. Dahrendorf. It's G. Simmel. Conflict that arises from frustration of specific demands and are pursued as a means toward are realistic conflict. And the non-realistic conflict, on the other hand, results from one's antagonist's need to release tensions. So this is how George Simmel distinguished between two types of conflict, that is realistic and non-realistic. Who considered poverty as a result of exploitation and not of scarcity? And the options are A. Karl Marx, B. Max Weber, C. Hobhouse, and D. Pareto. The answer is Karl Marx, because Marx developed his theory of class conflict in his analysis and critique of the capitalist society. He talks about number 1, the development of proletariat, 2, importance of property, 3, the identification of economic and political power and authority, 4, polarization of classes, number 5, the theory of surplus value, number 6, pauperization, and then alienation, and then class solidarity, revolution, and finally the dictatorship of proletariat. The first clear-cut formulation of exchange theory is provided by options. A is Peter Blau, B is G.C. Homans, C is James Frazer, D is B. Malinowski. And the answer is James Frazer. In 1919, Sir James George Frazer's second volume of Folklore in the Old Testament conducted was probably the first explicit exchange theoretic analysis of social institution, in which he examined the Australian Aborigines preferred cousin marriage over parallel cousin marriage, because in order to get married, an exchange of property and getting a wife was not considered equal. Thus, to get her, there was exchange of female relatives, usually a sister or a daughter. Who had propounded the concept of triple obligation of social exchange? The options are B. Malinowski, Marcel Mauss, G.C. Homans, and Peter Blau. The option here is Marcel Mauss, because Marcel Mauss distinguished between three obligations, and it was giving, receiving, and reciprocating. So giving, it was the necessary initial step for the creation and maintenance of social relationships. Receiving for the refuse to receive is to reject the social bond, and then reciprocating in order to demonstrate one's own honor and wealth. Who holds that it is the exchange which counts and not the things exchanged? The options are Peter Blau, J.C. Homans, Levi Strauss, and G.S. Gurrier. The correct answer is option C, that is Levi Strauss. In 1949, Levi Strauss, while working on analysis of cross-cousin marriage in his classical work, The Elementary Structures of Kinship, he, in contrast to Sir James Frazer, views on exchange of female relatives to get a wife by an Australian aborigine, kept his view forward that it is the exchange which counts and not the things exchanged, because Levi Strauss viewed exchange in terms of its functions for integration, the larger social structure. Who had propounded the concept of modes of individual adaptation? Likewise, the options are James Frazer, RK Merton, Tucker Parson, and Peter Blau. The answer is RK Merton, because Merton presented 5 modes of adapting to strain caused by the restrictions access to socially approved goals and means. By this, he did not mean that everyone who was denied access to society's goal became deviant. Rather, the response of mode of adaptation depend on the individual's attitude towards cultural goal and the institutional measures to attain them. Thus, his anomic theory of deviance mentioned 5 basic forms of adaptation, that is, conformist, innovator, ritualist, retreatist, and rebel. For Marx, estranged or alienated labor involved 4 aspects, which among them is not one of them, and the options are A, from the end of production, B, from himself, C, from the object, and D, from the mode of production. The correct answer is option A, that is from the end of production. Because according to Marx, the alienated labor involves 4 aspects, and these are: the first aspect that Marx referred to is the alienation that workers experience by the estrangement from the production of their labor. The second aspect that Marx mentioned is the alienation resulting from their lack of control over the labor process or production activity. The third aspect is alienation from own human essence, or in a reduced sense, our human nature. And the fourth aspect of alienated labor for Marx can be derived from the fact that we are alienated from our own human nature or essence, which is also, according to Marx, social. The word verstehen comes from the which language? That is Portuguese, German, French, and Latin. The verstehen comes from the German word, and then verstehen refers to understanding the meaning of action from the actor's point of view. It is a systematic interpretive process in which an outside observer attempts to relate and understand other forms through their perspective, and this is very much popularized by Max Weber. The book Main Currents in Sociological Thought is written by, the options are Raymond Aron, Levi Strauss, L.T. Hobhouse, and Alex Ingalls. The correct option is A, Raymond Aron. Originally published in 1967 and in 2 volumes, and in the first volume there is that is Comte, Montesquieu, Marx, and Tocqueville, and in the second volume Raymond Aron has dealt with Durkheim, Pareto, and Weber. Whose monumental work is The Gift? The options are Malinowski, Marcel Mauss, J. Frazer, and then M. N. Srinivas. The correct option is option B, that is Marcel Mauss. The Gift, Forms and Functions of Exchange in Archaic Society, is a 1925 essay by Mauss, and the work is considered as foundations of social theories of reciprocity and gift exchange. The sociological method of Durkheim exists firmly on the experience of, the options are physics, astronomy, biology, and history. The correct option is C, that is biology, because in the Rules of Sociological Method, first published in 1895, Durkheim was trying to frame scientific approach to social phenomena and agreed with Spencer's organic analogy, which compared society to living organism. According to Max Weber, ideal types are what types? That is A, general type, B average type, C pure type, and D normative type. And the answer is pure type. So to him, ideal type is a mental construct, like a model for the scrutiny and systematic characterization of a concrete situation. And then Weber defines ideal type as an analytical construct that serves the investigator as a measuring rod to ascertain similarity as well as deviation in concrete cases. Next question. Who among the following maintains that social structure has nothing to do with empirical reality? And similarly, the options are A. Levi Strauss, B. James Frazer, C. S.F. Nadel, and D. RK Merton. The answer is S.F. Nadel. According to Siegfried Friedrich Nadel, that is the full name of S.F. Nadel, structure refers to a definable articulation and ordered arrangement of parts. It is related to the outer aspect or the framework of society and is totally unconcerned with the functional aspect of society. So he has emphasized that the social structure refers to the network of social relationship that is created among the human beings when they interact with each other according to their status in accordance with the pattern of society. The Golden Bough was written by, the options are W.H.R, Morgan, James Frazer, and Evans-Pritchard. And the answer is option C, that is James Frazer. In the book that is the Golden Bough, a study in magic and religion, in this Frazer attempts to define the shared elements of religious belief and scientific thought, discussing fertility rites, human sacrifice, the dying gods, the scapegoats, and many other symbols and practices whose influence had extended into 20th century culture. The book Poverty of Historicism was written by, the options are Maureen Ginsburg, K.R. Popper, Karl Marx, and E. Gladden. The correct option is B, that is Karl Popper. Sir Karl Raimund Popper, in this book, The Poverty of Historicism, which was published in the year 1957, he argued that the idea of historicism is dangerous and bankrupt. L.T. Hobhouse's theory of social development describes the growth of, the options are property, knowledge, technology, wealth. The correct option is B, that is knowledge. L.T. Hobhouse in 1924 came up with his theory of social development, in which he put forward a hypothesis that there is a broad correlation between mental development and social development. To establish this correlation, he undertook an elaborate analysis of mental development in the growth of scientific thought, the control of the forces of nature, including human nature, the ethno-co-religious sphere, and the history of art. And he then tried to show that there is a correlation between mental advancement and the development of societies. Marx's theory of social development describes the growth of, option A is property, B means of production, C is technology and productive power, and D is solidarity. Emphasizes on technical advancements as the basis for advancement and change in the social structure and culture of given civilization. Therefore, the correct option is C, that is technology and productive power. The next question is, Durkheim's study of society is important for methodology because it illustrates, the options are understanding statistics or functional correlation and causal connection. The option is functional correlation. Based on his data, Durkheim argued that society can be a result not only of psychological or emotional factor but of social factor as well. So Durkheim reasoned that social integration is particularly a factor. The more socially integrated a person is, that is, the more he or she is connected to society, possessing a feeling of general belonging and a sense that life makes sense, which in the social context, the less likely he or she is to commit suicide. As social integration decreases, people are more likely to commit suicide. Max Weber's analysis of the relation between Protestant and then capitalism establishes, the options are observation, functional correlations, and survey and understanding. The answer is that is functional correlation. In his essay on Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism, he observed a close relationship between religion and economic forces. Who has written the book A System of Logic? The options are K.R. Popper, J.S. Mill, R.B. Braithwaite, and L.S. Stebbing. The option is J.S. Mills. John Stuart Mill in 1843, in this work, he formulated the 5 principles of inductive reasoning that are known as Mill's method, which are intended to illustrate issues of causation, and his methods are like direct methods of agreement, methods of differences, a joint method of agreement and difference, method of residue, and method of concomitant variations. Max Weber and Durkheim were of the opinion that science of society must begin by solving the social problems, posing questions, and observation. That is, the option is C, that is posing question, as it is the only after posing question that one makes hypothesis and then goes on to test hypothesis. Who had explained sociology as the science with the most methods and the finest results? And the options are Henri Poincare, Henry Maine, Auguste Comte, and Herbert Spencer. Correct answer is Henri Poincare. He is also considered as the last universalist, since he excelled in all fields of the discipline and as enlisted during his lifespan. Who had made distinction between functions and dysfunctions? The options are Radcliffe Brown, Merton, Parson, and Malinowski. The answer is RK Merton, because functions are intended or recognized or as manifest and may have a positive effects on society, and according to Merton, these functions are unintended or unrecognized and have a negative effect on society. Who holds that social psychologists attempt to describe and explain the conduct and motivation of men and women in various types of society? The options are Marcel Mauss, Hans Gerth and C. Wright Mills, S.F. Nadel, and D. Morris Ginsburg. The correct answer is option B, that is Gerth and Mills. In the book Character and Social Structure, the Psychology of Social Institution, Gerth and Mill emphasizes on holistic and pragmatic qualities and has relation to some work of Max Weber. Most substantial and useful discussion of the comparative method in history and sociology is of, the options are Max Weber, Marc Bloch, A.R. Loach, and M.M. Nathanson. The correct option is B, Marc Bloch, who was of the view that there are 2 social classes, namely bourgeoisie and proletariat. The options are Friedrich Engels, L.T. Hobhouse, Karl Marx, and Wilfredo Pareto. The option is C, that is Karl Marx. In Marxism, the proletariat is the working class, including farmers and low-skilled factory workers. They do not own any means of production. And the bourgeoisie are the capitalist class, the wealthy who owns most of the means of production. Durkheim analyzed a state in which social facts have lost their coercive power and people do not know which rule to follow, which is called, the options are anarchy, altruistic state, egoistic state, and anomic state. The correct answer is option D, that is anomic state. In this state, this is the state of the breakdown of social norms, and there are certain social changes. Who defined social action as a behavior undertaken by one person while taking into account another person? The options are Tucker Parson, E. Seals, Max Weber, and Raymond Aron. The correct answer is C, that is Max Weber. According to Max Weber, an action in social if the acting individual takes account of the behavior of others and is thereby oriented in its course. With this, we have come to an end of the 30 MCQ practice questions. And for those who would like to learn more, watch my other videos, and for more information and updates related to sociology, like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.